So good afternoon. I left my hand back there. You know that ladies without hand back, they are like mothers who have lost their children. But distinguished ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good friends. So if I should describe the development of the recent years, I perhaps should say so that we have been experiencing increasing uncertainty. We can see it in our economies, which look more and more fragile. We see it in the growing inequality between and within nations, also here in Finland. And we can see it in the deterioration of our global environment and consequences. So the fundamental idea of the Helsinki Process, what I understood, was to knit the new and larger coalitions for action in global problem solving, thinking that we can find more resources what we have used so far. And bringing various stakeholders, governments, business community and the civil society organizations to work together in partnerships has been recognized growingly expedient. So this recognition has been sped up the severity and complexity of the recent global challenges. And as it was mentioned already by Helena Laukko, among those most threatening are the climate change, but I wouldn't either forget, we speak here in Europe a lot of financial crisis and debt crisis, but if we think all the world, so it's also the food crisis, job crisis, and why not also the crisis of the reasonable governance. In its final report, the Helsinki Process highlighted 3 areas where the multi-stakeholders cooperation can bring added value: the confidence building, innovation, and implementation. So when I compare it how we worked in this UN high-level panel on global sustainability, so really it started about 18 months ago, and we got this generous, not quite 2 years' time to make a new world. But so the Secretary General who mandated the high-level panel has felt that a new paradigm was needed to boost the implementation of sustainable development. And I underline the word implementation. Our panel, a group of the independent experts, tried its best to deliver on its mandate. We formulated a vision based on, I call it the modern trinity. It's an economic growth which is welcomed, but with the social justice, and then it has to fit to the so-called planetary boundaries, which means contain the environmental sustainability. We argue that they are one and the same sustainable development agenda, and progress must be balanced across this agenda. So in the way, the idea or the message is not new. Already Gro Harlem Brundtland and all the others have underlined the importance of the sustainable development. But depending on the forum where you are, people might either underline the economic growth, forget the social justice and perhaps also the environmental side, or if they were gathering like it would be in Rio 20 years ago in Rio, so it was in the focus just the environmental side. Or if you are, those of you who have been in Porto Alegre, you know very well that there has been remembered much more the social justice than perhaps the money itself or the environmental issues. Everybody, yes, you have had people who can keep 3 things at the same time in mind, but normally that's pretty difficult. So, but also what we wanted to add is that all the wisdom is not in the cabinets. People are the center of this agenda, both as the targets of actions, but also as actors. Sustainable development is about people's opportunities to influence their future, claim their rights, and voice their concerns, and I would say also to tell their hopes. So it is about the economy which serves people's needs while respecting long-term sustainability instead of the prevailing short-termism. As regards mechanisms for achieving this sustainability vision, action is needed to enable and encourage people, markets, and governments to make sustainable choices. Naturally, governments are on a driver's seat, if I put it that way. They have the power to use incentives and regulations for market actors and consumers. But those of you, especially if you are not Europeans, you can notice as an observer that it's not easy with the drivers, but also with passengers. Sometimes we keep our hats. But it is not so easy when you have the crisis tomorrow to remember what's the sustainability development after 10 or 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, so what then should be done to make sustainable development practical reality? So obviously, both the governments and non-governmental actors must seek for answers from various directions. First, people must be enabled to make sustainable choices. And when I say people, I mean both men and women. What we noticed in the panel, and that was not my idea, I give the thanks for the men, especially for the Kevin Rudd, Australian foreign minister, previous prime minister, that he counted once and once again that we speak about the importance of the China. But if we count what is the importance of the women, it is the same size. So it's not just, it means also a lot in economics. And when you go home, so you can count how much it will mean in your national economy. So there are also other groups which are hungry for this possibility to have more to say. Young one, poor one. And if I take the poor people, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. It means a lot of creativity to be poor and survive. And we could all use that together in many levels. Second, the concept sustainable development must be incorporated into the mainstream economic policy debate and practices. Not so that first we have the mainstream and then somebody says that, sir, this is the sustainable development too. But so that from the beginning you think in that way. It's a new view. Third, so governance practices and institutions must be improved. So let me briefly still once again elaborate a little bit each of these three. I'm reflecting on the main conclusions of the high-level panel. So empowering people must be based also on the trinity of dimensions of sustainable development and on the implementation of the global commitments. And if I think something what has been really a success story with all its weaknesses has been the Millennium Development Goals. I happened to be again this lady from the north when it was this Millennium Summit, year 2000. Then I was together with the president of Namibia. And so I still remember the atmosphere and the spirit of the people there, how they said that, yes, what we see about the millennium we had just passed, we would like to give something more to you in the future. And then after that it was a declaration, and then it was a quite, how could I say, complicated process of the different governments to make this agenda. An agenda is not quite what was a declaration, but it has been a very good system to measure the development. It might be so that not all the goals of the Millennium Development Goals will be fulfilled in 2015. But without those goals, I'm sure the development couldn't be so fast what we have done.